That's my friend there, Sharon. She's my best friend in the world. And that's me, Nephilimfree. Sharon suffers with diabetic neuropathy. Many of you may not know what that is, but I'll explain. It's a continuous pain that never goes away, caused by damage to the nerves due to diabetes. She has type 2 diabetes. Imagine yourself living with non-stop, continuous, aching, agonizing pain in your feet and calves for 10 years. 24 hours a day, non-stop. My best friend Sharon is a stroke victim. About 3.5 years ago, she had a massive stroke. Her doctors use the term massive stroke. That means a stroke that causes severe disability, and usually mental disability as well as physical disability. 2 years later, she tells me God asked me to put my hands on her feet and pray, and he would take the pain away. She suffered with diabetic distal neuropathy in her calves and feet. Constant aching pain, shock-like pain, and buzzing sensations 24/7 didn't go away. She lived with pain. It was terrible. Imagine going through life like that. So I did. I prayed, and the instant I put my hands on her feet and said, "My King," God cured her the incurable neurological disease in her legs. Instantly. She felt icicles shooting out of her toes. She was cured instantly and permanently. She hasn't had a single neuropathy pain since. No more medicine for it. Oh, by the way, distal neuropathy is incurable. The coating, the sheathing around the nerves degenerates. It can't be regenerated. It's permanent damage, incurable. Medical science cannot repair it. No more medicine for it. No more medicine for it. No more medicine for it. But I want you to know that the power for this didn't come from my hands. It came from Jesus Christ. I was only the vessel. Not long ago, Sharon had bought a hair dryer. You know the kind ladies have. You see them on TV using it's like a helmet, comes down over their head. She was sitting under this dryer, and I had laid down to take a nap. And I'm sleeping. And about an hour goes by or so, 40 minutes to an hour. So I was groggy. I lay there for a minute, gathering my senses. And I woke up. So I got up and I walked into where Sharon was, sitting under this dryer. I started talking to her. And almost immediately I noticed that she was not very coherent. She was babbling. I said, "Sharon, how long have you been under that heater?" She said she was just saying things that were incoherent, didn't make any sense whatsoever. And I said to myself, wait a minute, something's wrong. She's not herself. And I asked her again, "Sharon, are you okay? How long have you been under that dryer?" And she was just babbling things that she was incoherent. It took a moment to set in what was going on. So I grabbed that hair dryer and I turned it off and I pulled it away from her head. And I got her up out of the chair and I took her to the couch and sat down. For about the next 20 minutes, she still continued to talk relatively incoherently. Had she been under that hair dryer for another 10 minutes, she would have had a heat stroke. And probably would have had the mind of a small child or an infant for the rest of her life. It would not have taken but maybe 10 more minutes of that heat to do it to her. She was not coherent at all. She was babbling, blah, 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 complete nonsense, not making any sense, could not string sentences together properly. 10 more minutes of that heat, and she would have been toast. For about the next 20 minutes, she still continued to talk relatively incoherently. For about the next 20 minutes, she still continued to talk relatively incoherently. What you see here is a Colt New Frontier 22 caliber revolver. My dad passed away about 3 years ago and left this one with me. I have other firearms, but I keep this one close at hand. It's loaded with hollow points. It has a magnum cylinder. I can put hollow points, magnums, rounds in it as well. I have guns that are much more deadly than this one, but this is the one I keep loaded and close at hand. I think it's powerful enough to do the job if I needed to. You know, with hollow points especially. It's got a 9-inch barrel. It has extreme velocity for a .22 pistol. It was made back in the 1980s. It'll punch a hole clean through a human being, all the way through, front to back. But you know, this gun's been in my home for 3 years. It hasn't killed me yet. I have guns that are much more deadly than this one, but this is the one I keep loaded and close at hand. I think it's powerful enough to do the job if I needed to. It'll punch a hole clean through a human being, all the way through, front to back. You know, this gun's been in my home for 3 years. This is the one I keep loaded and close at hand. You know, this gun's been in my home for 3 years. It'll punch a hole clean through a human being. My roommate is a stroke victim who needs somebody to look out for her in small ways because she's become forgetful because of the stroke. Just forgetful. That's about it. This is the one I keep loaded and close at hand. You know, this gun's been in my home for 3 years. It'll punch a hole clean through a human being because she's become forgetful because of the stroke. You know, this gun's been in my home for 3 years because she's become forgetful because of the stroke.